All right, take two. Let's try this again. Welcome back to the Phaithful Phanatics show, everybody. We are live here on a Monday morning on DSM-Media's Philadelphia YouTube channel. Guys, first and foremost, if you are new to the channel, if you want to support, if you just like the content, make sure to do so by smashing that subscribe button. It is the best spot to get your thoughts, comments, and questions pulled up here on the screen with your host. I'm one half of them this morning, Dylan Davis. To my right, my faithful co-host, Scotty. Hasson Reddick has formally requested a trade out of Philadelphia. We're going to talk about that, his age, his contract, everything that has to do with this drama that transpired on Super Bowl Sunday. Scotty, the Sixers over the weekend. We get our first little look of Campaign and Buddy Hield in a Sixers uniform. They go 1-1 over the weekend, finally back in the win column. But that's not all the Sixers did over the weekend. Kyle Lowry brought home back to Philly on the Sixers roster. We're going to talk about that and anything else you guys want to get into on this Monday morning that happened over the weekend, the Super Bowl, whatever the case may be. Scotty, my man, happy Monday, and we're finally live and good to go.
Yeah. Excuse us if you were on the other link from before. We were having some technical difficulties there. I was a little worried, man. I thought we might not even get the show going, but here we are. We're good to go. And happy Monday, man. Hopefully everybody enjoyed the Super Bowl yesterday and Super Bowl Sunday. Always a fun big event in the month of February to get it kicked off. So
yes, sir.
Now you got to focus on your Valentine's. No more excuses, guys. So if you got a Valentine out there, make sure you got everything prepared for Wednesday.
Yes, sir. But let's start with football, man, and not necessarily the Super Bowl. The Eagles somehow made headlines early on Super Bowl Sunday morning, and have found a way to lose when they're not even playing a game in a way.
Just when I was starting to get, positive vibes back for the
just
team.
When you're starting to feel a little bit better, they're filling out their coaching staff. We have two new experienced coordinators compared to last year. And maybe, just maybe, we can kick off this offseason in the right direction. And ironically enough, the first major move of the offseason they made 2 years ago was signing Hasson Reddick to this 3-year deal. He's now entering that third and final year, and he wants an extension. And he wants money, Scotty. He wants a payday. And no, we cannot blame him. Hasson Reddick has been one of the most productive edge rushers, one of the premier edge rushers in the league over the last 3 to 5 seasons. The sacks will tell you that. His durability will tell you that. His win rate, everything. Hasson Reddick has been a game wrecker for many, many, many different situations throughout his short Eagles tenure. But Scotty and I were talking about throughout the show, or before the show, I should say, about where we were kind of standing with these thoughts. And I don't know what to make of this. Because in a way, yes, the Eagles are losing in this scenario. You cannot just replace this type of production, Scotty. You're just not.
Oh goodness, I think we lost Dylan here. So I'll try to man the fort here, but we'll what we're talking about, right? Hasson Reddick, and I think what Dylan was about to say is Marshawn Lynch. Let me try to work some shit here. Let's get Dylan off the screen because that is fucking with my head. Perfect. So Hasson Reddick, he requests a trade or whatever the case may be, right? The Eagles come out, report yesterday. Of course, we get this big ball dropped on us on Super Bowl Sunday, on a Sunday that we're not even included in, right? We're not even involved in this Super Bowl Sunday. And they come out and they report that Hasson Reddick is looking to he's looking for a new contract, right? He's looking to be paid as one of the top premier pass rushers in the NFL. I know that Dylan just popped on the screen. That fucked with my head again, but we'll see how it goes. But the thing for me here, guys, right? Hasson Reddick, great player. He's up at the top of the league the last 3 seasons. When it comes to sacks from the edge rusher position. My only question, man, and this is with all due respect to Hasson Reddick, because he's one of my favorite players. I have his jersey in the Kelly green. I was excited when he came back to Philly. That is, he's supposed to be this hometown guy, and went to Temple University. Like all these ties to Philadelphia that just make you love the guy. And then on top of it, he is a high quality edge rusher in the NFL, a top 10, top 7 edge rusher for my money. But is he TJ Watt? Like, is he Myles Garrett? Is he Micah Parsons? Like, the reason I ask these questions, and obviously me and Dylan talked about it before the show, and we'll see if we can get his opinion here soon. But when I look at it, if you have to ask that question and the answer is no, he's not Micah Parsons, he's not TJ Watt, he's not Myles Garrett, what is the reason for that, right? Like, why isn't he? The numbers, he's there. But, like, have we ever seen TJ Watt go 5 games in a row without being heard of on the football field? Like, TJ Watt, Pittsburgh Steelers, TJ Watt, Defensive Player of the Year. Well, I think Myles Garrett got Defensive Player of the Year this year, but TJ Watt, Defensive Player of the Year last year, whatever. Have you ever seen either of those guys disappear for a 5-game span like Hasson Reddick did this season? It's a very simple question. Has that ever happened? Like, where TJ Watt or Myles Garrett made no impact in 5 straight games? Looks like we got Dylan back here. Let's see. You're back. You're back on my screen. So I think we're good.
Good man. Lord, bro. Good Lord. It's going to happen again. I already know. I apologize. I'm going to have to keep restarting and popping in and out. I apologize. I was on a roll, too. I was on a roll.
I know. That's what threw me off, man, because I had to come in, and I was ready to kind of finish your point. But what I was saying,
you're doing a great job.
With you coming back in, Dylan, just to get you caught up here, what I was getting into is when you go in, you look at Micah Parsons, the TJ Watts, the Myles Garretts of the world. Do you ever remember? And maybe it's happened, right? Like, we don't follow those teams as closely.
We're not watching every play of every week of those other teams. I get.
Have they ever disappeared for a 5-game span where they made 0 impact on those said games? No. Like, has that ever happened with those type of players? Those Defensive Player of the Year candidate type of players. And I just say that it's not to, dismiss Hasson Reddick, but there is tiers. There's tiers to ability. There's tiers to skill. There's tiers to what you're putting out on the football field. And I'll throw this back to you because you threw this word to me and it really clicked. But Hasson Reddick is a niche edge rusher. He's a niche linebacker. Like Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, you can put them anywhere on the field, right? And that's the difference for me when it comes to Hasson Reddick, where he gets, frustrated being put into a linebacker position. He gets frustrated, with these different things he's asked to do on the football field. That's fine, but you got to be good at it, right? And that's my thing. If he has to be penciled in, if he's not going to fit the scheme at the end of the day, we may not love the scheme of Vic Fangio and what he's presented here. Dylan falls out again. This is going to be a rough one on this fine Monday. But if he can't, he doesn't love the scheme, he doesn't fit the scheme, the simple truth is the Eagles love Vic Fangio's scheme. Like, they went out and got the head of the scheme this offseason just to fortify that, right? Like, they could have completely deviated away from the Vic Fangio scheme if they wanted to. No, they decided to go out, get Vic Fangio from Miami, and fully implement the scheme to a T from the headmaster of the Snake itself. So when I look at it from that standpoint, Hasson Reddick, 29 years old, going on age 30, still a great player. Once again, I'm going to keep reiterating that because I'm not switching up on Hasson Reddick. I'm just looking at it like you're getting $22 million this year, man. Like, you're getting $22 million this year. And this is an Eagles roster right now that has a ton of holes, like specifically on the defensive side of the ball. So we need linebackers, we need like safety, we need a corner, like we need all of this stuff in the defensive side of the ball. But we have to give Hasson Reddick a revamped, 3-year, 4-year extension at $25 million a year. Like, that's the priority right now. It can't be. It can't be. And it specifically can't be when you drafted Nolan Smith in the first round. And I get it. Nolan Smith, he showed a little bit of signs, especially late in the season this season. But you drafted him in the first round, man. Like, that's the simple truth. You used a first-round pick on Nolan Smith. So Nolan Smith is going to ultimately have to be played at some point. And I think this, if Hasson Reddick's going to go down this road, this is what it's going to open us up to is Nolan Smith is that next guy up. He's that next answer. And then maybe you go out and you address it with a veteran. But I think the biggest thing is that I just want to be clear. Like, the Eagles didn't necessarily, want to trade Hasson Reddick. He's just forced them to this point. But I think we got Dylan back in here. Let's get him pulled up here. Go ahead. Add yourself. You can't do it. Okay. Talking to him in the backstage here, guys. Jesus.
Good.
There we go. New
right,
the same dude. Let's get it.
We're gonna do it from the phone today. That's what we're gonna have to do. Jesus.
Wild morning this Monday, man. But get you caught up again here. We were just addressing, obviously Hasson Reddick, levels, tiers. I would say for you, just go from the top from your spiel, because I covered pretty much everything I wanted to say about it.
I was all the way to did a great
drafting Nolan Smith, right? That's what you brought Nolan Smith in here for. Same prototype as Hasson Reddick in a sense. So I'll throw it to you, my man.
Yeah, I think we share the same kind of confusion on how to feel about this trade rumor, right? Because like I trying to start off by saying was, you're not just going to be able to replicate or reproduce that production, right? You can't just fill that hole that is Hasson Reddick when it comes to those sack totals and the game wrecker and changer that he can kind of be. You go back to that Jacksonville game at the Link last year when he had 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, a fumble recovery. The dude finds ways to take games over. But for some reason, and I heard you talking about it, and it's what you and I were saying before the show, for some reason, he's just not that guy, right?
Yeah.
Now he's tier 2. He's the next level of type of player, of type of edge rusher. He is not Myles Garrett. He is not TJ Watt. He is not Micah Parsons. Hell, is he Nick? But is he guys like that, right?
Max Crosby, right?
Correct. And if he's not, you can't handicap yourself by overpaying that guy level 1 type of money. And you do so, you already have so many areas in need on this team, on this defense specifically. You go out there and you give him this extension and he turns around and starts getting $22 to $25 million per year. I mean, you're going to have to see an uptick in production. And where does that come from, right? Because you were talking about the kind of niche linebacker, the niche edge rusher, the player that he is.
Yeah.
The sack totals are there mostly, right?
Yeah.
But those guys don't disappear, like you were saying.
Yeah.
You don't listen. We're not watching every snap and every defensive play of every game because we're not fans of these teams. They're not on TV in our area. We're watching the Eagles, right? Or we're watching Red Zone, wherever the case may be. I would bet my life savings on the fact that Micah Parsons and TJ Watt and Myles Garrett don't have their name called multiple times throughout the course of a game, good, bad, or ugly, right? I'm not this production doesn't always replicate winning. I mean, look at Pittsburgh, right? Look at some of these other teams, but you feel them throughout the course of a game, always 100% of the time. Hasson Reddick wasn't discussed.
No.
In the broadcast booth over the last 7 or 8 weeks. It just didn't happen. Yeah. So no, I can't be confident in Howie Roseman or defend Howie Roseman if he were to give into this $22 to $25 million range, whatever he's looking for. The other side of it, man, is listen, I get it. It's a business and good for you and you deserve your money. Like, no one's saying that.
Yeah.
But goddamn, bro, he went to Temple, born and raised in Camden. I thought he loved it. You can't play for 18 mil here or you know what I mean? I'm not talking about you taking this ginormous pay cut to play at home. I'm saying you need 25 mil to play at home.
Play for a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
when
come
you
on.
know that Smitty needs paid, you know that Landon Dickerson needs paid. Right. There's going to be other guys that need paid. Jalen Hurts contract's going to kick in. Like, that's my thing too, man. It's like we can't get any like grace here.
Right.
Like for bringing you home, making you part of a
Right.
team that went to the Super Bowl, like giving you that gift of playing for something as well. Like not just playing at home, but you're on one of the best teams in the NFL.
And how
the
he
grass
could throw
is not
in
always greener.
incentives, how he could throw in sack incentives.
Yeah, get 15 sacks for us.
Yeah.
Get 15 sacks for us, you get an extra $2 million. Like these are the things that we can do. And I'm just not convinced that Howie isn't willing to do that. I think Howie's just looking at this thing realistically. This is a guy 29 going on 30, and you have a ton of holes. The only thing that I would say, Dylan, is that before
this creates another hole, which is
it does create another hole. And before I would even maybe try to move Hasson Reddick or something like that, I would probably try to move Josh Sweat. I would see if there's any market for him to get his money off the books so that you can give that to Hasson Reddick. Now, this is what I would say before this happened. Before it came out that, Hasson Reddick is going to demand a trade and possibly be traded out of Philadelphia. Now, I don't know if you can go that route of like moving, a guy that didn't complain, that isn't worried about his contract, and Josh Sweat for a guy that's sitting here complaining, even though he's in his hometown and, he was so excited to be back here. But Josh Sweat's just cool. He understands that he disappeared and he's fine with his contract. Like that just isn't cool to me. And I just looked at TJ Watt's numbers on the season, man. 19 sacks. He didn't go more than one game without having a sack, like some sort of impact on a game. It's not to dismiss Hasson Reddick once again. He just is that like niche, undersized linebacker that, at the end of the day, if we could go out and get a Max Crosby, you throw him on this team, he's going to be the best edge rusher on the squad. Like that's just the facts of the situation. It's not to disrespect Reddick. It's just to kind of read the room. You know what I mean? The grass isn't greener. He can probably get $25 million per year on like a 4-year extension from a team that maybe doesn't make the postseason, or maybe the Chicago Bears gives him that, right? Go play in the cold and, compete in the NFC North. Really not have a chance, right? You can go play with a rookie quarterback that comes in there if they decide to move on from Justin Fields. I think like these are the situations that he's going to be looking at. Yeah. And it's like, so go ahead. And I think Howie's doing the right thing here in letting him go out and explore. Go see what's out there for you, man.
He has to. And when he gets to, and that could also be a blessing in disguise for the Eagles and Howie Roseman playing his cards correct also, is like maybe he gets smacked in the face with reality when making these calls, right? Like maybe the market isn't there when his agent and he are reaching out, throwing out X, Y, and Z different numbers, that doesn't actually come to fruition for him. So he's forced to be like, you know what? Now I get to reevaluate what I'm worth, and maybe we can work something out. Listen, I know it's I know it's just a different time compared to years and years ago. And I'm not a businessman myself. And I get security and injuries are so unknown. They can end your career in a split second. Getting ahead of the curve, all that. I mean, my God, Bryce Harper signed a 13-year deal. He wants an extension. Like, I get it. Yeah. But, bro, you signed a 3-year deal.
Yeah.
You didn't sign a 2-year deal. You signed a 3-year deal. Played a 3 years. Like that, you know what I mean? Like it pisses me off, Scotty.
Yeah.
It does. Like when Howie Roseman brought you in a few short years ago to try to enhance his team's chance to win a Super Bowl, he signed you to a 3-year, I believe, $45 million deal, $48 million deal, maybe whatever it was, right?
Yeah, with the most coming in this season, and now you're making this noise, man. Like you're about to hit the open market. Go have a career year.
Correct. Like go, like I can't stand it. Like you sign a 3-year deal, and after year 2, and especially again, like you were talking about reading the room, like dog, read what just happened. Over the last 2 months, a month and a half of football in this city, where the team's at, where you're at, and everybody's graces, and think on Super Bowl Sunday if Eagles fans are going to sit back comfortably and go, he deserves his money. No, he deserves his money.
Right.
But $25 million ain't his money.
Can you imagine? Like, can you imagine if like AJ Brown came out and said some shit like this? Like, Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's just not right. Like, read the room. Even if you want that money, figure it out behind the scenes. Like,
Yeah.
you don't have, like, and I hate to be like this because it's almost like shut up and dribble, but it's not. It's not.
No.
You didn't play up to par, so we don't need to hear from you until next season, quite honestly. Like, aside from what you're going to do better to help the team, I don't need to hear from you if you're under contract. Like, Smitty and Landon Dickerson, these are guys that I'm worried about getting extended. Like, it really speaks to me because, like, I'm sitting here looking at the reactions, and like the differences between all the players on the Eagles team, and like, are they joined together as like one unit? Like, do they view each other? Do they help each other out? And it's just like, there's no way. Like, Hasson Reddick, this doesn't help the team at all. This doesn't help the Eagles at all, man. Like, so I just don't understand where it comes from, man. Like, they're not about helping the team. Even to this point, Dylan, like, I saw Fletcher Cox going ham at Deebo Samuel. And shout out to Fletch because I loved it. I love him going ham on Deebo Samuel on Instagram. So he's sitting here saying this about Deebo. He's like, keep the Eagles' name out your mouth, bitch. He says, eat a dick. Like, there was a lot in these messages to Deebo Samuel. But then you have AJ Brown, who's like, I hope Deebo Samuel gets a ring in his in his interview with Kay Adams. So I'm just like, man, these guys like don't talk, like they don't talk shit to each other. Like, maybe I'm just reading on something that's not there. That could be completely
and I feel you. And
but it's like Fletcher is going to the 49ers and saying, y'all don't have a ring. I got something y'all don't have.
Yeah.
Well, Jalen, AJ, Goddard, Smitty, none of these guys have a ring. It's really just Lane, Kelsey, Fletch. You know what I mean? Like, there's a disconnect even there. But maybe I'm making more mountains out of molehills at that point. But it's just something interesting.
I feel you because here's the thing, right? Here's where what I would say about that, and we can put this Eagles conversation to bed, kind of.
Yeah.
To your point, do they communicate? Do they have relationships off the field? Like, we're not talking about AJ Brown and I don't know, Reed Blankenship or AJ Brown and Zach Cunningham. We're talking about AJ Brown and maybe a top 2 leader of this Eagles team.
Yeah.
And so I say that because obviously, like, whatever, it's AJ Brown and Deebo Samuel are friends. They are friends off the field before he came to Philadelphia, before any of this started with the Eagles and Niners. I can understand him saying that.
Yeah.
But my point is, you and I are friends. We talk all the time. If we were in a similar situation and I knew that this dude was your friend, like, Fletcher Cox didn't attack anybody else in San Francisco.
Yeah, just
Deebo Samuel. If I knew he was your boy, I probably wouldn't go on social media and tell him to eat a dick.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Like seriously.
I might go and like at the Niners or at Niners fans and laugh and troll them. If you have a relationship off the field or a friendship off the field, if you're communicating about anything, there's some sort of disconnect. And again, like, maybe we are reading way, way, way too much into that. But you're talking about the leader of the defense.
Yeah.
And the best player, possibly the best football player on the team, another leader on offense.
And we're sitting here looking at Deebo. This is a guy who AJ calls his friend. This guy called your teammate, James Bradbury, trash.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, he disrespected
Exactly.
him. Like, it wasn't just fun and games. He disrespected James Bradbury. Now, mind you, the truth about James Bradbury's out there. We know it. It's fine. But it's not acceptable from your teammate, to be disrespected like that from a
Let's put
friend
it this way, right? Let's put it this way. I just talked about, like, do you even communicate?
Yeah.
So Deebo Samuel publicly trashes James Bradbury. Clearly, the Niners got the message, or it was talked about, because the Niners as a team ran up on James Bradbury pregame and basically tried to bully him. So they're getting the message. They're communicating their whatever. We're over here one dude's telling him to eat a bag of balls, and the other dude's saying, "That's my friend, go win a Super Bowl." And
Yeah.
again, like,
To each
just
their
it's all
own.
season discussion at this point. We're
Yeah.
talking about whatever, but it is funny when you watch the downfall of the Eagles over the last month and a half of the season and how bad they looked on the field. You got Britton Covey talking over the weekend in Las Vegas
Yeah.
about miscommunication and letting outside noise get to them. Something is there, right?
Yeah.
This team is not as close knit
Yeah.
as we were hoping they would be, right? Like when the quarterback is the godfather of the star wide receiver's daughter, you would assume pretty close group. And those
Yeah.
two might be close, but where's everyone else at is the question, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll see. Let me ask you one more thing. I know we got to put this
Yeah.
conversation to bed and talk some Sixers, man. But when this Reddick news popped off, did any of it for a split second make you think of the fact that Nick Sirianni is returning as head coach?
Yeah.
Like that's
Definitely.
him showing his frustration with a lack of where the direction of the team or where it wanted to go.
Yeah, I think Vic Fangio, right? Like I think that
Yeah.
has to be a factor into it, and I think it's also it could look like this situation where Reddick, to be fair, to give his perspective, maybe his perspective. I'm gonna be in a Vic Fangio offense where I feel I don't fully fit into. So how am I really gonna be able to
Sure.
put up the numbers that I need to put up to get that next contract that I'm gonna need to get? So maybe he just wants it at the forefront right now before he plays for Vic Fangio. Give me my money now for what I've done, and you'll see what I can do going
Right.
forward.
Possibly
Yeah,
before
I could see
I'm
that. But
taken out
the whole
of
thing in
yeah.
general, it's kind of like running it back in a sense with Nick Sirianni.
Right.
Even though you got new coaches, still Nick Sirianni at the helm.
Right. Before I'm taking out of my position to go get you 17 or 18 sacks because I don't know if this guy's going to put me in that position. I would assume Vic Fangio is going to be just fine with Hasson Reddick. If Hasson Reddick remains an Eagle, I know it's his tree, but like you watch him with guys like they traded for Bradley Chubb in Denver.
That's a great point.
I mean, I didn't see a lot of Broncos action. I also didn't see a lot of outrage that Bradley Chubb was dropping back into coverage often.
Yeah.
So
And
I would have to assume
the crazy
Bradley
part,
Chubb lined up on the edge and rushed the passer a lot.
You've seen the greats like Von Miller excel in that role, man. So it shows you the levels that you can compete at in that hybrid linebacker role.
Yeah, I agree.
Like
man.
That's the best to do it.
We'll see. We'll see where he starts to. Well, where he ends up or stays or what Howie and them decide to do.
I think he ends up staying with the Eagles, man. Like if I had to make a prediction now, Reddick is gonna play for the Birds in 2024-25, and if he goes out in the free agency after that, so be it. He'll figure it out from there. But I do think Reddick's gonna be in a Birds.
I agree, and if I was Howie, if I would let him go out and scope what's out there and who would be willing, and if he found a suitor, well, that price better be pretty damn high. And if it's not, sorry, bud, you have another year left on your deal. You want to hold out? You want to get fined every week? I don't think so. You want money. You don't want to lose money.
Yeah.
So. No, I would definitely assume that he should have to play his year out here.
I think it's key. Like he's not Chris Jones.
Ask Usher, bro. Man. Ask Usher.
Yeah, Usher is a dirtbag, man.
Bro.
You can't trust that man around your girl, man. I swear to God.
Bro, who's her husband?
Swiss Beats.
Yeah. I saw so many fucking hilarious TikToks like last night and this morning of just like people acting like they were him when she got home and all these different audios on TikTok, and it's hilarious too.
Because you remember that shit, that video that went viral a few months back with Keke Palmer and her husband or baby's father is like a big Eagles fan. That's the only real reason I know who he is. And he got pissed when Usher was dancing up on Keke Palmer, man. That shit is hilarious.
He's a home wrecker, bro.
Yeah, he's a home wrecker. He don't care.
Like, listen.
I saw it in his face last night. He don't care.
Nah. Listen, you're performing at the halftime of the Super Bowl. You're entertaining. I get it. I mean, we all sat around and all had the same thought, like, damn.
Yeah. He's like
He's
glaring
right
at her
there.
ass.
He is, yeah. I lost sight of a hand for a second. I don't know where it went.
And then the arms go around, and that's
Yep.
a violation, right? Like
Yeah.
that's the line. That's the line we not crossing here, man.
Yeah.
But nah, that's hilarious.
Luda came out last night. Oh man, but we'll talk some Super Bowl maybe.
Not you, Marshad. That is not the only reason I know who. That's the only reason I know who Keke Palmer's baby's father is.
Keke Palmer was what movie was that? The Long Shot or Long Shots or whatever? She's the quarterback with Ice Cube. Yeah,
I want to say what was
the Long Shot or something. Yeah, that's good.
Just want
good little kick. Good little kid movie. Yeah. But anyway, enough of the.
Moving on.
Oh
yeah, she was in Nope. Yeah, okay, so Nope. I wanted to say she was in Hustlers. She's in a lot of stuff. I mean, she's popular.
Yeah, he said she was in that Spelling Bee movie as a kid.
Akilah and the Bee. That's the one I was looking for, yo. I couldn't remember if that was her, but yeah, Akilah and the Bee.
I swear to God, the only movie I can think of is The Long Shot or whatever with Ice Cube. And
Long Shot.
Yeah.
He's
our uncle and like whatever coaches her, and she's a quarterback. But all right, moving on. Got sidetracked. Marshall Lynch here in the comments just sidetracks people. You know, he wants that 2 hours. Sixers. That's where my thought process was going, Scotty. The Sixers obviously made some moves last Thursday. We talked about them on Friday. Whether you were happy, you were pissed off, or indifferent. We discussed it all. 2 games under their belts with Buddy Hield and Campaign on the rosters. Now they go 1-1 over the weekend, finally back in the win column. And then they go out Saturday night and bring in what we all were assuming what was going to happen. They bring in hometown boy Kyle Lowry. Again, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of different opinions on this signing from the Sixers fan base. I'm fine with it, man. Like I'm 1000% fine with it. You know, should anybody be looking at it as this huge move that's here to, you know, catapult the Sixers, et cetera, et cetera? No, like that heading into the deadline time, you and I discussed it. Like waiting for Lowry on the buyout cannot be your big move. But you talk about Buddy Hield being the big move. Let's be honest, Buddy Hield was probably the second biggest move across the NBA that day. Maybe the biggest, depending on what you want to argue, right? Yeah. Campaign, regular season, bad defenses. Dude could score and shoot a little bit.
I'll be fine. Yeah,
I'm all right with it. I'm A-okay with Campaign coming off this bench when this team's fully healthy. Now you in a guy like Kyle Lowry. And I'm interested, man, because I know there was confusion with people like, well, you traded Pat Bev probably to make move for Lowry, so where's Campaign fit into this? 2 different types of guards, right, coming off this bench now. Yeah. So they'll both have a role. I'm okay with it, man. Scotty, as long as this team can somehow stay afloat, we know what this schedule looks like. We know they still are not healthy or even close to it, but he brings leadership. He brings a veteran and championship experience under this very head coach, right? Yeah. He's knocked down big shots and threes in the postseason before. That to me is where Kyle Lowry was brought in here. The remainder of this regular season and Kyle Lowry means nothing to me.
Yeah.
Can Kyle Lowry provide a punch off the bench for this team? Not a scoring punch, right? Not 16 points per game, 15 points per game. Can he just give you 9, 10, 11 points per game, knock down a couple of big open threes, and play defense and provide that veteran leadership in the postseason for this team? Maybe that's the type of difference you're looking for when it comes to a series against Boston, right? Kyle Lowry gets minutes in the fourth quarter compared to, you know, whatever we were throwing out in the previous years, George Niang and Daniel House and Furkan Korkmaz. So I'm fine with it, Scott. I'm not even just fine with it. I like it. I'm going to throw it out on the table. I like the move.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I think it's a move that, you know, can't hurt. I think My big thing last week with the negativity coming out of the trade deadline was the Pat Bev move.
Mhm.
And my thoughts were basically like, if you want that type of player, just keep Pat Bev, and don't switch the team all around and make all these changes to it if that's what you're ultimately going after. But
Mhm.
all that being said, Kyle Lowry is still a great addition. He comes with championship experience. He's from the city. He has those connections, those ties. That's always going to appeal to the fans, regardless of what we think. And then on top of that, he does come from the Heat, right? The Heat culture. They've had experiences in the postseason. They beat us in the postseason. So he's going to have experience when it gets to these certain situations, even more than Pat Bev in that case, of when you're in the postseason, what do we have to do? What's the type of mindset we have to go into
Exactly.
this game with? And I think that's really going to help guys like Maxey and Embiid. And I think the other thing, man, is D-Melt has been out for how long with this back injury? And this is the second time he's had a back injury since he's been on the Sixers.
Yeah.
So you needed insurance at the guard position for DeAnthony Melton, because we just don't know what's going to happen with him. Like, I know obviously Embiid, we rely on him to come back, but D-Melt is a key integral part of the team as a ball handler, as a guard, as a three-point shooter, as a defender. So you needed to replace that in some capacity. And I will say Kyle Lowry and Cam Payne together addressing that missing piece is a lot better than just Pat Bev. So when you put it that
and
way,
I think the other
it's a
thing,
good
man,
play.
is, and I haven't looked at it, and I know he's another year older, and those legs are another year older, and he doesn't quite shoot it and score it like he used to. But we look at what this team was doing beyond the 3-point line, and I get
Yeah.
it, depleted, right? Missing guards for stretches at time, missing Batum. That's going to hurt your numbers. It's going to hurt your attempts. But I'm looking at what they were doing beyond the three, and you go out and watch Buddy Hield, albeit not a great shooting night his first game,
Yeah.
12 threes. Like, bro, thank you. Like, I get it. It didn't pan out. They lost the game. He didn't shoot all that well. But just having that guy with the confidence
Yeah.
to shoot it. And it's not blind confidence, bro. Right? He didn't shoot 3 for 12 or 4, whatever the case was on
Yeah.
that first game. And we're like, man, this dude chucks. No, he chucks, and rightfully so. I think you saw that a little bit more closely the second
Yeah.
game against Washington. Campaign, what was he? 4 for 8, 4 for 9 from 3-point land, 20 plus points. And then you get Kyle Lowry, and I'm just kind of envisioning a postseason run where Embiid's back, he's healthy, he's got all this attention down low, and there's just snipers lined up around the 3-point line come playoff
Yeah.
time. And that's a huge difference for me, man. When you have Maxey, Batum,
Yeah.
Buddy Hield, you got these guys lined up there now. Even Melton off the catch and shoot from the corner foot. There's so many different options that Nick Nurse can work with now
Yeah.
that kind of has me happy about this team. Now, again, we're a long
I
ways
agree.
off from that. We're a long ways off from them being healthy, from
Need
Embiid
Embiid.
returning
Yeah.
from the playoffs. That's what we have to wait for. But I truly believe if they can get that, if they can get these guys back and get Embiid ready for the postseason, this team is much improved than where they were as from a roster perspective a month ago.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, you look around this roster, and obviously the only thing they didn't address at the trade deadline was
Backup big.
the backup big. And,
Yeah.
that's something that it's going to hurt us from time to
Yeah.
time. We saw a lineup against the Wizards with Ricky Council basically playing the 5, or Tobias Harris, right? Interesting thought here, though. Ricky Council, man, he really obviously played well against Washington.
Right.
He's looked pretty, like, you know what it is, man? He's got a personality that I like, man. The way he goes about his business. He kind of is real humble. He doesn't talk a bunch of shit. He gets real hype.
Me, Scotty, he's got a ton of NBA attributes. Like, he just looks
does.
like
Athleticism,
he fits.
length.
He looks like he belongs on the court with these other dudes. He doesn't look out of place. His shape, his size, his shot, it looks normal out there. It doesn't look like he's young or inexperienced or doesn't fit. So, there is talks of, like, is that where the extra roster spot goes to? Does he get a full-time contract from Daryl Morey?
It's interesting. I mean, if it's gonna cost you a big, like, if it's instead of a big, then I'm not going that route, right? Like if there's some option out there, I think they need to explore an
Right.
option for a big, but to be fair, I don't know who that is. Like I really don't know who else is available on the market in that department. So if it comes down to it of just having a guy that can go into the game and perform and give us output, then maybe Ricky Council is that guy. But I think that's definitely a guy you don't want to really. I don't know if you want to even let him on your G League squad, if you know what I
Right.
mean. Like, he could get
Yeah.
taken in that case. And I know we're not sitting here, hoarding like young talent. We just traded Jaden Springer, but if he can be viable, right? Like he's not even Jaden Springer. Like he does kind of more, right? Like he's I don't want to call him a better player yet, just because Springer has like his niche in the league, which is defense. But Ricky Council, I mean, the ceiling is higher, right? Like it's got to be. Like he can dribble better.
I would assume so. And I know that sounds
Hard to
ass
tell
backwards,
right
considering
now.
that one dude was a first-round draft pick, and the other was Ricky Council. Yeah, undrafted free agent.
Interesting.
So it would be odd to say the ceiling is higher, but it does look like it could be offensively at least, right? And he's got a little bit. It just looks like he fits the part. Robin Lopez is the name that is going to be talked about because he was bought out from Milwaukee.
Yeah.
And I really don't know if you have many other options. I just feel like as low as I am on Paul Reed, I'd probably just ride it out with Paul Reed as my backup five.
I agree, man.
Robin. I don't know what Robin Lopez brings except for more size. But we already had that with a guy in Mo Bamba who you see that all that size doesn't just
matter.
equate to anything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I do agree with you, man. I agree.
So I don't know.
I think if those are your options, right? Like Nerlens Noel, JaMychal Green, Robin Lopez, like sure, if you're not sold on Ricky Council, then sure. But I would almost consider just giving it to him because we don't know what Robert Covington's gonna be like. We don't know what we don't know what
this is true, man. They've had to go small.
Healthy.
Now mind you, when you're talking playoffs compared to now, you were assuming for a healthy Joel Embiid, I mean, that's close to 40 minutes a game in the playoffs. So you're only asking your backup big to be in there for 8 to 10 to 11 minutes, depending on the night and how the game flow is going. So we're talking about a very limited role at that point. But we've seen it before over and over again. You cannot afford to get crushed in those 8 to 10 minutes. And you watch a just lowly Washington Wizards team feast at the rim.
Yeah.
You do have concerns. So maybe it is worth just seeing what Robin Lopez's size can do for you in a limited role. But God damn it, if I have to see that hook shot in the postseason and it doesn't go in, I'm gonna lose my mind.
And you're gonna see in games like tonight, we will get the true, we'll get the true look of what it's like to play a team with quality big men
size
and really not have any, right? Like we're gonna see what that feels like tonight. So maybe that will change our perception on even Ricky Council getting a spot or so on and so forth. Because
would you rather
it's gonna be rough.
Would you rather have Robin Lopez or I don't even know if this dude got bought out, but I did see something about Bismack Biyombo.
He already got picked up actually.
Oh, okay.
He did. So he got bought out and he got picked up. I forget by who. But it was one of the other contending teams ultimately. It might have been, no, it wasn't Dallas. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't see that, but so my
he did get picked up though. But that would have been the highest quality. That would have been more than Robin Lopez for me. But he did get acquired. So I do think to your point, man, what Morey kind of has done here at the trade deadline has. Who was it? The Thunder. The Thunder. That makes sense. Yeah. They needed a big man, so that makes sense. The thing that it appears to me is that Daryl Morey opted to go with an offensive route, the rest of the season, basically. We're going to have guys that are going to space the floor. They're going to shoot the three, and we're going to try to outscore you. And I think that might be the best route that you could go with this unit right now.
I was just going to say, I guess just pushing all your chips to that side is the way you have to go.
Yeah.
because if you're soft in other areas defensively, what you know what I mean? Like, what is one backup
You
big
can't
going
replace
to bring
Joel Embiid.
defensively? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so
You're not gonna
unless
bring
you
in a
brought in like
big.
three guys that improve your defense, which you're not anymore, obviously, you
Yeah.
might as well just go all in on the offense and hope
Yeah.
that you can get the job done that way until
And
Embiid
you're
comes back.
you're you're not gonna bring in a backup big that's gonna play like 35 minutes like
Right.
Joel Embiid does, right?
Right.
Like, you're not replacing
But
him.
Scott, here's the
Obviously
other
not on the
thing that I'm
offensive end,
just
but not even the
I
defensive.
know it's ugly to watch right now, man. But here's the other area you have to realize as well. They're not just missing Joel Embiid, and I know that's the biggest part.
Yeah.
That's the rim protector.
Yeah.
That's a defensive player of the year candidate in most cases.
Batum and
You're
Rocco,
missing
though.
D'Anthony Melton. You're missing Robert Covington. You're missing Nicholas Batum. I mean, dude, you're talking about three of the better guard slash wing defenders on this team, maybe the three best. But now you add a Kyle Lowry, who, another year older, can still play a little bit on the defensive side of the ball. So I'm pleading with everybody, man, to just
Yeah.
take a breath and let's just hope. That's all we can do. We don't know the
It's gonna be
extent
a
of these
tough stretch
injuries.
no matter what right now.
Right.
Like, this
What
is
what,
gonna
what
be a
is
tough
wrong
stretch.
with Robert Covington? How
Yeah.
serious is D'Anthony Melton's back issue? It seems pretty serious, right?
Yeah.
But if they get healthy, help is on its way, man.
Yeah.
And you add your original roster to these three new shooters and pieces you brought in.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it. But again,
Yeah.
we don't know when that is. There's so much
And
uncertainty with these injuries.
And to be clear, man, Buddy Hield, yeah, I know you talked about him a little bit at the beginning, but I'm starting to see it. I see what Daryl Morey was saying when he brought him in, saying that he could be the best player that was acquired at the deadline because you just can't replicate that trigger. You can't replicate that type of shooting, man, and you
Yep.
can't replace it. And I know that he's been on teams like the Kings. He's been on teams like the Pacers, even, right? With guys like a Halliburton, guys like a De'Aaron Fox. And it's interesting, right? Because it almost feels like he never gets to fully embrace his role in
Yeah.
that team. But it feels like just these two games, he's kind of been put into a role that he has a lot more responsibility. He's averaging 20 plus points in the two games he's played, right? He's averaging like 10 threes per game since he's got here. 10, 12 threes per game.
12 and then 9 on Saturday night.
So what? 9, 21. So yeah, right around 10 or 11 attempts per game so far. I think it's going to be a bigger addition than even what I thought at the deadline. And I love the deal. Like I loved it. And I think it's going to be even bigger than what we thought because we haven't even seen him with Embiid yet. And that's going to be the biggest piece that it helps, right? Like Embiid is that guy. Once he comes in, that's a player that a guy like Buddy Hield has never played with before.
No, that will change
like JJ Reddick,
literally
Steph Curry,
everything,
right?
For Buddy Hield. And that's why, like, Buddy it's starting off just a 2 quick game stretch, right? Against bad opponents. It's starting off like someone that we're going to be hurt if he leaves in the offseason. Like, he's someone I would want back on this roster moving forward. And that's why that's another reason not to force or speed up Embiid's recovery, but you get him back. Give them two a taste of what it would be like to play together. Play together in meaningful moments in the playoffs. Maybe you get Buddy Hield coming back next in the offseason. I think he could,
like, when you look at Buddy Hield and even like the size, and I know he's not that much bigger than like a JJ Redick or a Seth Curry, but he is bigger. He's 6'4", he's 220, right? He has a little bit more athletic ability than those guys. He can get to the rim, finish with layups. He's averaging like 6 assists. Since he's gotten
here. The other night he had 5 boards, 6 assists, and 4 steals.
Yeah, so he's covering the scoreboard here, and so to that point, I feel like he could be better than Seth Curry, better than JJ Redick was in an offense next to Embiid. Now, mind you, Embiid is better than what he was with those guys as well. So it's going to be better overall. I see the vision, I really do. And to that point, I absolutely love the Buddy Hield trade at the trade deadline. And that could ultimately make a difference in the season down the stretch here to get Embiid back. Tobias Harris, man. This guy is like brutal to watch right now. And I don't know, I'm going to give him some grace, like coming back from the sickness, but Jesus, man, like You like the other night, I mean, Ricky Council was better than him. Like, that's crazy. That's insanity. Kelly Oubre, like, I know Kelly Oubre catches some bullets from the fan base, some strays.
Yeah.
He's better than Tobias Harris. Is he not?
Yeah,
Like, is he not? Like, I don't know. Like, is he not?
I can't say he's not,
It's
man.
bold
Like,
to say, but like, if you give Kelly Oubre Tobias Harris's role in the Sixers organization, what would he do with it compared to Tobias Harris?
Yeah.
I think he could give us 20 points per game in Tobias Harris, like getting the ball that much, being a focal point in the organization, right? The way Daryl Morey talks about Tobias Harris. Mind you, this is talking about Kelly Oubre. This is a guy that came in on a minimum contract. That's my point, right? Like, it's not the point that Kelly Oubre should be this guy. The point is just Tobias Harris, come the fuck on, man. Like, we are down how many guys right now? And you can't help us out at all, dude.
Tobias Harris, it's a story as old as time, Scotty. Tobias Harris is a very, very, very talented player. Let's not get that twisted.
He is.
It is a roller coaster. It is way too much inconsistency throughout his play, and you never know when it's going to strike. You have no idea. It could be in the biggest game, in a game 7 or game 6 of the postseason. It could be in.
You're not lying.
It could be in January. It could be in February, bro. But I mean, you just look at his last 5, right? He gives you 28 against Utah in a win next to Maxi's 51. It's great. Then he gives you 17 against Dallas at home, and it's too small. And then he gives you 13 against Golden State, and it's too small.
Yep. 21.
And then he gives you 21, and then he gives you 11 on 28% shooting. It's 28%. Too much inconsistency. And that's what worries me about him. Now, granted, you are right now with all these injuries, Tobias Harris is much larger focal point from game to game with the 76ers right now. Yeah. You get healthier. I mean, there's a world in which Tobias Harris is the 4th option again. Absolutely. Like Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, Buddy Hield, then Tobias Harris. I would run Buddy Hield would get way more touches than Tobias Harris. I don't care.
Absolutely.
So you have that. You have Batum that can spot up. Then you get the bench, right? Then you have Lowry. Then you have Payne. Then you have Kelly. Tobias, as long as they can get, I think honestly, he's probably going to benefit the most from the injuries coming back. Yeah. Like, because he'll get a little more out of the spotlight. He'll have less being asked of him. I see I'm frozen. I don't even know what's going on. I'm good though. I think I'm good.
No, you're good. You're good, brother.
Yeah, literally, bro. Like, to think about that. Like, you said it, Scotty. Like, Ricky Council took his minutes down the stretch.
In crunch time.
Now, I would also like to point out, thank you, Nick Nurse.
Yeah.
No, what other I mean, I'm sure there's coaches out there, but in our recent history as Sixers fans, what previous head coach is taking out a max contract guy, no matter how bad he's shooting, how bad he's playing, and allowing this undrafted rookie free agent to come in and shine in this moment?
None.
It's something you and I talked about in the beginning of the season. Yeah. I love the fact that Nick Nurse is not glued to anybody.
Yeah.
The only 2 guys that are going to have a leash on bad shooting nights and bad performances, Maxey and Embiid, and they deserve that leash.
Yeah.
Everybody else, Batum, Melton, Oubre, Tobias, when Pat Bev was here, different guys are closing games on different nights depending on how they're playing.
Yeah.
And thank you, because I think that's something that is certainly needed come playoff time, man. Because I get it. You need your best players on the floor at all times. If Tobias Harris ain't playing like a top 4 option in game 5 or game 6 of the second round in the 4th quarter, pop a squat, bro. I got a lot of other scoring options that I can bring in right now.
Yeah. And look at it this way too, man. And maybe this isn't even the case with the Sixers. Maybe they're already ready to move on from Tobias this offseason. I would hope so, right? Like, I would hope that that's the case. But something tells me that Daryl Morey and this love story is going to go on. Maybe him and Buddy are playing for that next contract with the Sixers, right? Like, who's going to get that extension? Is it going to be Tobias? I'm going Buddy no matter what from my perspective. Just to be clear here, I'm going Buddy Hield regardless of what happens the rest of this season. But maybe that turns into the conversation. Which one of these guys are you bringing back? Is it going to be Tobias? Is it going to be Buddy? But obviously Buddy Hield's going to be winning that conversation right now. But just something to think about. These are both – there's a ton of expiring deals, obviously, but these are the two biggest guys on expiring deals, right? Outside of Maxey, who we know is going to get that max extension. So that'll be interesting to see how it plays out. It just makes me wonder with Tobias, man, if you could have flipped him to Detroit just to get a half a season of Bojan and Alec Burks and just further added spacing, offense to this team and just make it the Houston Rockets from a couple years ago. And you can do that until the postseason. You can get away with playing like that. We saw it with the Houston Rockets. They made it to the Western Conference Finals. Mind you, they had James Harden, like all-time James Harden, right? But imagine just spacing the floor out. You shoot, 43s a night. You score a bunch of points, and you just play the rest of the regular season that way. Then you get to the postseason, you get Embiid back, and you have a bunch of floor spacing and offense around Embiid. Bro, and that's a machine, man.
Scotty, I'm telling exactly, man. Again, I know we were down a week ago, a couple days ago, and it's a big ask. You get this team healthy, you get him back for the playoffs. Yeah. This is the best, most equipped Sixers roster around Joel Embiid to make a run. Now, you might not
gotta get there.
You might not be in the rankings. You might not have the seed you want. You might be going on the road, playing the Knicks, playing the Cavs, being in a position you might not want to be in round one.
Yeah.
But I said this before, and I'll say it again. You can't beat the Cleveland Cavaliers in round one or whatever the case may be.
You're not beating anybody.
Who cares? Yeah. Then none of this matters.
You're not
because
winning.
You're not good enough regardless. I'll ask you this before we wrap up.
Yeah.
Got a little props for you tonight.
Yes, sir.
Haven't bet on them yet. Been a little busy over the weekend. Buddy Hield, what did you say he's averaging over the first two games here in Philly? Over 20 points each game. Right?
Yeah, 20 points, and he's averaging 6 assists per game right now, too.
Well, his total is 13.5 points. At minus 115 on DraftKings. His threes, now, granted, it's set at minus 150, which pisses me off. But his threes at minus 150 are over under 2.5.
Interesting.
So Buddy Hield 3 threes. And his assists, Scotty, at plus 110 are set at 3.5.
Interesting. And he's had 6 assists in his last 3 games, even counting one right before he was traded. Yeah.
I'm just saying.
It's right around his mark for the month. I'll say that because, they must be just, calculating those Indiana stats because the 2.5 threes and the 13.5 points seem like locks, man. They need him to score that. Not even to win.
Yeah.
To, play.
Yeah. I think Buddy Hield over 13.5 points is my bet for the night.
Yeah.
Threes,
I might put in the Buddy Hield play, man.
Threes, obviously, but at minus 150, might as well just take the points, right?
And I feel like
a big difference.
Assists, man, he can get assists just from passing the ball back to Maxey and Maxey driving off his floor spacing. That can be an assist for Buddy. I might put in. I'm glad you pointed that out, man, because I might put in a Buddy.
Hey, man, you could even go a little Buddy Hield same game parlay.
Yeah.
Go a little 12 plus points, 2 or 3 threes, and 3 assists or something.
3 assists. I like that. Yeah. That sounds right.
Might have to see about it.
Yeah.
But
of course, this will be the game where he goes 1 for 12 from the 3-point line. And
absolutely will be because I pointed it out there this morning. Right. Just when I think I'm a sharp, I see the line. No one else is on it. Buddy Hield.
This is an interesting game tonight, man. This is going to be kind of a litmus test. Now, obviously, like we said, no Batum probably tonight. No, there's a couple other guys missing.
They're out. No Batum, no Covington, no Melton,
Rocco.
no Embiid.
Yeah. So those guys are out.
And Mo Bamba is questionable, by the way.
Mo Bamba. That's going to be – I know it's Mo Bamba. That's a big deal against the Cavs with Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, so on and so forth, right? So the reason I say it's going to be an interesting game is because it is kind of it's a test, right? Like, how close can you stay with the Cavs? Can you test them tonight? Can you put them against their backs against the wall tonight? Are you capable of that on maybe a hot shooting night to take the Cavs, one of the best teams in the East, balls to the wall? So
can
that's what I want to see, man.
they play inspired basketball?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Can they play inspired ball and have it look like this head coach and these players that are active right now have a pulse and want to be out there, and they know that the cavalry is coming soon? Terry, my condolences. Know what it's
I'll tell you
like.
this, Terry. It's Debo, man. It's Debo all around. Debo is the guy, I think, that it's not that I think. He just always runs his mouth. And so when you run your mouth constantly, you're just going to get drugged through the mud.
Like,
and I think that's what it comes down to,
Right.
man. He made fun of guys crying last year. He made fun of Jalen Carter crying in the game against them. Well, now you're crying with the confetti falling on you. How's it feel? And I think that's like,
as a fan, though, Terry, I will give you my condolences.
Absolutely.
Obviously, one short season ago.
It's tough.
I know what it's like to fall to the hands of Patrick Mahomes. So
yeah,
what would have been more painful, honestly? Here's the funniest part.
Or
here's the funniest part, right? We thought we had like the worst Super Bowl loss like ever, right? We don't get the ball back. The bad holding call ends the Super Bowl. Or I could go to overtime, get points on the board on my possession, and then lose because he goes right down the field because he's a robot. That's all he is. He's a robot. And that conversation, Scotty, we're going to talk about on Turf Talk this week. That conversation is going to get interesting, man, because that man he is on an entire other level. I saw this tweet. We'll wrap it up here. Whatever you think the gap is between Patrick Mahomes and whoever you think is the second best quarterback in the league, just multiply it by 10. Yeah. Like the gap is that large. There's no, I know like when Barrow was competing with him and it's not close, dude.
Yeah.
He's in the AFC Championship or the Super Bowl every year. It doesn't matter clearly what weapons or receivers he has around him. It doesn't matter who he's playing. He gets down by 10 all the time. It doesn't matter. And he just goes and does what he does in overtime. I mean, that drive was robotic, bro. It was just, I almost had no doubt that he was going down and scoring on that drive.
It won't stop me from hating them, though, Dylan.
No,
I hate them.
Team,
I think I'm in, I feel like I'm in the outside of the Eagles fan base from Twitter and stuff, because I just can't help, by the way, Eagles fans support Andy Reid.
Yeah,
but feel like the little brother. Like I feel like a little brother to the Kansas City Chiefs. Man,
I'll also say,
I hate it, dude. But I hate the Niners more.
I love the greatness. I love the greatness. I love watching it. I know that differs from people like, I want to beat them. When my team's in it, obviously, clearly, I'm rooting for the Eagles, right? If the Lions made it this year, I would have been rooting for the Lions over them. But I love watching his greatness.
Yeah.
And then they always give him a microphone.
Yeah.
And I got to hear Kermit the Frog come out. And it's like, it's like the voice just does not match the swagger, bro.
Yeah, how is he able to do this, man? But
it doesn't fit.
I will say this to answer. I can't remember who asked the question in the chat or in the chat here in the comments. But who was the more miserable loss, or which loss would I rather be part of? And I'll go ahead and say I'd rather be part of that Eagles loss. Like, at least at the end of the day, I know it's losers debating against losers in this situation, but at the end of the day, I got to watch my quarterback go out and outperform or play up. I won't say outperform. They didn't win the game. Play up to that level against Patrick Mahomes. I watched A.J. Brown score a touchdown. I watched Dallas Goedert make plays. I watched Devontae Smith make plays in this game.
Right.
Debo Samuel did not touch the end zone.
Yeah, by the way, Terry
did not touch the end zone.
George to wrap up here, I'll tell you what you guys. Yeah, I'll tell you what your guys' biggest issue is. I don't think Brock Purdy is going to win a Super Bowl. And I know he's very, very close. He was seconds away from doing so. I get it. I just don't think he's ever going to have another, like,
He's
he
not
can
going to
be
get
that
that close
guy.
again.
What I would say is your quarterback isn't even your biggest problem. Your head coach is your biggest problem. Your head coach is the roadblock that stands between you guys because,
he's the common denominator.
He stopped doing what they do best and the reason they got there. They came out in the second half, got a 3-and-out from the Chiefs, got the ball right back with that lead, and Christian McCaffrey did not touch the ball on the first 2 possessions of the second half.
Yep. He's the common
gets
denominator,
away from it.
man.
I don't know why. He falls in love with trying to push the ball down the field and going away from Christian McCaffrey and the running attack. He's done it in every big game he's played in.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? And
he had 10-point leads in all of them. The one with Atlanta and these 2.
I was getting it confused because 3 Super Bowl losses. I was going back to Colin Kaepernick. That wasn't Kyle Shanahan, right? That was Harbaugh.
That was Harbaugh, yeah.
Kyle Shanahan was in Atlanta where the Super Bowl collapse happened, right? And he is the common denominator between those 3 Super Bowl losses. Yeah. Jimmy G wasn't here for this one yesterday. Brock Purdy was. So that's not an excuse, right? When you lost with Jimmy G.
I agree. I mean, Scotty, how do you not, like, as great of a play caller as he is, and I know, like, we can't talk any shit about creation and getting guys the ball.
Yeah.
How does George Kittle not really touch the ball in this game at all?
Yeah.
How do you not find ways to get that dude open over the middle of the field? Deebo Samuel was a non-factor.
Yeah.
Jawan Jennings was their best player on offense.
Yeah,
now, maybe you can talk about that. They tried to take advantage of those, of the third corner or a safety on Jennings because Ayuk was going to get Snead and so on and so forth. I mean, all year long, Kyle Shanahan did a great job at getting guys in space, letting them create, getting the ball to his playmakers. And in the biggest moment, he relied on Brock Purdy to drop back and distribute the football.
Yeah.
And it didn't happen. But again, we'll talk more about that game.
That's what I was going to say. We could talk more about this on Turf Talk because this is a good conversation because I think the 49ers, I'll go and I'll look at their contract situations before that show.
Yeah.
But I just have this feeling that the 49ers are about to face what we faced last year where we had to make some decisions. We had to make some tough decisions. We got more tough decisions this offseason with the amount of talent that's on the team. They're going to be facing those same decisions because last night, not only was Kittle not involved, where was Brandon Ayuk? That's your wide receiver 1, right? Like, that's the prototypical wide receiver.
Right.
Like, Debo might be the number
Debo's
one
a
weapon.
Gadget. They try to line him up in the backfield at times,
But, like, Debo Samuel, right? Like, he got 11 targets last night. He had 33 yards.
Yeah.
So, there's going to be questions. How are you going to pay all of these guys? And CMC, right? CMC, the MVP candidate, Offensive Player of the Year in the NFC, right? Where is this money coming from? Dre Greenlaw tore his Achilles last night.
Dude.
Where's the money coming from? Are you paying him now with the torn Achilles? Is he coming back?
That was maybe the craziest injury I've ever seen in my
life.
That
was. And I know I talked hella shit on Dre Greenlaw because of the shit with Dom DeSandro, and rightfully so. He's out of control in that moment. I love Dre Greenlaw and the way he plays, bro. Like, I wish he was on the Eagles healthy, right? But I wish he almost wish he was on the Eagles more than Fred Warner because of his personality. Yeah. But I will say Fred Warner is a better player. He's more controlled, and that's what you really want. He's the leader, right? But Dre Greenlaw is a dog. That's one guy I do like from that team. But how are you going to pay all these guys? You brought in Javon Hargrave last offseason. Not sure how that money really worked out, I guess, with Brock Purdy.
They already gave Bosa his money, if I remember correctly. So
how are you paying Brock Purdy? Are you paying
right?
Are you paying Brock Purdy as a top 10 quarterback? I don't know. It's interesting.
We'll see what they end up doing, man. Are we frozen now?
No, you're good, brother.
There we go. My side's all wonky, man. But anyway, that will get us out of here.
Yes, sir.
That is going to wrap up this Monday morning edition of the Phanatics Show. Guys, if you're new to the channel, if you like the content, doesn't normally look like this on the screen. I'm normally on the computer, a little messed up today. Don't worry, it gets better visually. But for myself, for Scotty, have a great rest of your day. Please, please, please support by smashing that subscribe button.
Sure.
We appreciate each and every one of you here in the stream. Have a great day.